Sir, news from the underground.
Hello, welcome to The Underground. This is the podcast where we talk about the world and how crazy and weird and messed up it is. I'm your host, Duncan Michael McPherson. Today on the podcast, I want to read from a book that I'm reading. It's called The Anarchist Handbook, and it's by Michael Malice. It's actually not written by him, but it's compiled by him. He took a lot of the anarchist thinkers back to the 1800s and put some of the best stuff all together into one book. So I know anarchy is kind of a wild, crazy idea that people think of killing in the streets and running wild and all these things, but really anarchy is based on the idea that the government shouldn't tell you what to do with your life, and that basically anytime you have an authority that is controlling you or telling you what you have to do, they're using violence and force to impose their will onto you, and that everything should be really be voluntary. And so that really comes down to these vaccine mandates and mask mandates and lockdowns and all of this stuff. Because what I've been saying for the whole time about this whole COVID thing is that if the government was just transparent with us and said, like, this is the best course of action. We're transparent in showing like this evidence that masks work or whatever, and you decide whether you want to wear one or not. That's the best way to govern a country. And what anarchy, it just takes that to the next extreme, which is that the next step, which is that anytime you have people telling people what to do and enforcing their will, it ends badly. So everybody should have freedom and the freedom to choose, free will, free choice. Like, all these things are the most important things that we have, because they get taken advantage of is the main argument of anarchists. If they get taken advantage of, if they are let run wild, which is what's happening in Canada, and we see that happening in Australia. So I want to read this excerpt, and I want to dedicate this podcast to Dr. Anthony Fauci, because this is definitely about him. Now, this is from Mikhail Bakunin. I said that wrong. I just looked up how to say it, and I forget. Anyway, he was speaking out against Karl Marx and his ideas of socialism in the late 1800s. And he was kind of giving a different take on Marxist thinking. So this is what he says. Does it follow that I reject all authority? Far from me such a thought. In the matter of boots, I refer to the authority of the bootmaker. Concerning houses, canals, or railroads, I consult that of the architect or the engineer. For such or such special knowledge, I apply to such or such a savant. But I allow neither the bootmaker, nor the architect, nor the savant to impose his authority upon me. I listen to them freely, and with all the respect merited by their intelligence, their character, their knowledge, reserving always my incontestable right of criticism and censure. I do not content myself with consulting a single authority in any special branch. I consult several. I compare their opinions and choose that which seems to me the soundest, but I recognize no infallible authority even in special questions. Consequently, whatever respect I may have for the honesty and the sincerity of such or such individual, I have no absolute faith in any person. Such a faith would be fatal to my reason, to my liberty, and even to the success of my undertakings. It would immediately transform me into a stupid slave, an instrument of the will and interest of others. When Anthony Fauci says, when you question me, you question science, this is exactly what I think this is referring to, this idea of going to one authority and only one authority when it comes to questions about different things. And before this, he talks specifically about science and academia. I want to continue. If I bow before the authority of the specialists and avow my readiness to follow to a certain extent, and as long as it as may seem to me necessary, their indications and even their directions, it is because their authority is imposed on me by no one, neither by men nor by God. Otherwise, I would repel them with horror and bid the devil take their counsels, their directions, and their services, certain that they would make me pay by the loss of my liberty and self-respect for such scraps of truth unwrapped in a multitude of lies as they might give me. Sound familiar? All the lies that we've been getting from the WHO and the CDC and Fauci and the lab leak theory that is now like undeniable that the coronavirus leaked from a lab, but they're still trying to lie about it. So he goes on to say, I bow before the authority of special men because it is imposed on me by my own reason. I am conscious of my own inability to grasp in all its detail and positive development any very large portion of human knowledge. The greatest intelligence would not be equal to comprehension of the whole. Thence results for science as well as industry the necessity of the division and association of labor. I receive and I give, such is human life. Each directs and is directed in his turn. Therefore, there is no fixed and constant authority, but a continual exchange of mutual, temporary, and above all, voluntary authority and subordination. I think this last paragraph refers directly to Fauci. The same reason forbids me, then, to recognize a fixed, constant, and universal authority because there is no universal man, no man capable of grasping in all that wealth of detail without which the application of science to life is impossible. All the sciences, all the branches of social life. And if such universality could ever be realized in a single man, and if he wished to take advantage thereof to impose his authority upon us, it would be necessary to drive this man out of society, because his authority would inevitably reduce all the others to slavery and imbecility. I do not think that society ought to maltreat men of genius, as it has done hitherto, but neither do I think it should indulge them too far, still less accord them any privileges or exclusive rights whatsoever, and that for 3 reasons. First, because it would often mistake a charlatan for a man of genius. Second, because through such a system of privileges it might transform into a charlatan even a real man of genius, demoralize him and degrade him. And finally, because it would establish a master over itself. So that's why, I don't want to listen to just Anthony Fauci. I want to listen to people like Robert W. Malone, Brian Brittle, I think I'm saying that right, or Brett Weinstein, or any of the people who have been speaking out, Pierre Corey. All of these people have been speaking out against vaccine mandates and suggesting that there's other ways to treat COVID besides vaccines, and that's why I listen to all of these people. And and I think, I think that's it. That's it. We got to listen to everybody, and not just one person or one idea that everybody's kind of jumping on. I think that's really important. Thanks for listening. Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening to The Underground. Please subscribe on YouTube to help this channel out, and like and share it on social media. Thanks, everybody. Bye.